time. Kobayashi Cinema. Oh, yes. Ooh. Oh, God. The score. It's a special sword. Ooh. Hopefully I can look that up. As expected of someone like Snake to kind of pick up on this. Oh, look at this. It's almost kind of like capoeira. Kind of, right? A little bit. Oh, he sliced him. Huh. Mutual respect, of course. Good point. And Gramps kind of even alluded to something like this, right? Snake ending up here. Oh my god. This animation though. Oh, he got distracted. So he saw an opening. Oh no, he's right there. Ah, that kick did it. Got distracted for a split second looking at the sword. Okay, Guard is at his mercy now. She knows it. I don't know, man. I don't see how he could possibly let this go. He's got a reason, and he's got a responsibility. He won't listen. Oh, yes. Oh. He's done it, but he didn't really stab him completely, did he? Kind of gave him the tip. I mean, that's still quite a bit. Her mind just broke. Whoa! Really? Whoa. I mean, this is... I mean, that's the point. I think that's... Oh, God. This... Yeah, underwater. Interesting touch.
どこに
Yeah, he knows. Oh, it's quite a deep gash.
お兄様の家に預けてあるわ。戦になる前に避難させておいたのよ。
Oh.
そうだったのか。
Huh.
兄上には世話になり通しだな。この庭舎、そなた
Ah, his voice. He's just like
借
this.
りたいのだが。いや、
わしのだ。あんたに信ぜよう。ガルザル。
高いところから失礼する。ご老人、お名前を。
Hmm. Nice.
滑るケルじゃ。
無茶だ、アルネイズさん。ガルザルさんはもう。
She knows. He knows he doesn't have much time left.
いいの。
Oh. Oh my god. She's got chills. Oh.
寒い。哀れだ。神々から見放された不運な連中。
Oh.
Oh. そなたは
Name him.
そなたは私の新たな誇り。父は戦っていこう。いずれ手にする富のために。
Oh. Ah, there it is. Oh my god, look at this. Yeah, yeah. Looks familiar. Uh. That should bring a smile to his face. Oh god, look at this. Oh. There it is. The opening. And that should transition.
ヒャルティはもういくつになる。8つか9つか。
6つよ。
どうもいかん。奴隷になってからの年月が曖昧でな。6つ。そうか。
I've missed so much.
可愛い盛りを見逃してしまった。
Oh.
別れた時はまだ一つだった。馬の尻尾に火をつけていな。
あなた、そんなことしたの？子供の頃。
ああ、父上にひどく怒られた。
How sweet. How sweet.
年頃になればバイキングに行きたいなどというのだろうな、男の子は。だが私は許さん。
Oh. Oh.
大丈夫。少し疲れただけだ。
the day he left.
鉄が手に入れば村の暮らしは楽になる。お前の家族だって。
He's probably thinking, please stop me. Please stop me.
わかった。行こう。よし。
Oh god, this voice acting. Ah, it's so painful.
アルネイス。やるて。もう決して。そなたたちのそばを。
Oh, is he gonna be reunited? Wow. Wow. Okay, yeah. Listen, folks, I'm sure at this point it's been stated hundreds of times for sure, right? Because I am a little bit late to the game, a bit later to the episode than most, but I'll say it anyways. It's a standalone masterpiece. It is. It's, you know, right up there in the ranks of Light of Dawn, one of the greatest anime episodes of all time, in my opinion, or at least for me so far. And this, you know, this is that caliber of episode. I mean, that's a foregone conclusion, isn't it? Essentially. Though, of course, yeah, you know, it's not the type of episode that's everyone's cup of tea. But I mean, at this point, you know, I don't think anyone who didn't like the direction of this season would have made it this far anyways, right? They might have dropped out, or they must have dropped out by this point. But yeah, for the rest of us that are really, really into this and really appreciate this focus, yeah, it's of course, it's an incredible episode. I mean, the imagery that's utilized in a specific manner is just so evocative. The whole episode is evocative. I mean, it's heartbreaking, it's haunting, it's poetic, it's also beautiful, right? It's all those things. And it's essentially everything coming together to deliver the perfect episode, right? A standalone masterpiece, much like The Light of Dawn. I mean, from the production side of things, it's just exceptional. It really is. Phenomenal art direction, right? Beautiful animation, right? Some stunning animation on display. Of course, Kobayashi cinema, impeccable storyboarding on display, as expected, right? And of course, you know, I keep track of these things. So the moment I came across that name once again for this episode, it's almost a bit of a spoiler in a sense, right? Not the biggest spoiler, but spoiler in the sense that, you know, if you know Kobayashi is attached to an episode, it's a major episode, right? It's an episode that is essentially going to be one of the standouts of the season. And that's been the case up until this point. And it happened again, right? It delivered. And, you know, again, I think it deserved this type of treatment. And one of the most impressive things about this episode is the fact that it's really essentially centered around this tragic situation, right, that these two people find themselves in. You know, it's centered around characters that have been introduced just in this season, right? And beyond that, you have Garter, who's only really been a part of this arc or the season just a few episodes ago, or he came into it a few episodes ago. Even though, of course, his and even Arnheid's first appearance is back in episode 1, right? And, once again, they do show us a few more scenes. I mean, they show us the exact same scenes. But going back to the production side of things, the voice acting for Garter, wow. The performances in this episode, right? Even Arnheid, of course. But, Garter, you feel that. It just felt so authentic. It's heartbreaking, right? It's impactful. Kind of rounding off my points about the focus being these new characters, it's still every bit as important, every bit as impactful and meaningful, even if they are just new characters in this season, right? Again, a sign of fantastic writing. And the thing I find so effective about the introduction of Garter is that, of course, at first he's introduced as this, out of control, animal almost, right? That was clearly by design. But of course, beneath all of that is the semblance of humanity that he still latches onto. Because, for a long time now in his life, after being enslaved, that humanity all but disappeared. But you still kind of see it shine through. You see that gentle disposition. He's so respectful. The moment, Arnheid kind of gets him out of that righteous fury, gets him out of that state. And I'm sure there might be some explanation for that state, that he somehow came to and choked out Snake, right? Hopefully Snake's all right, hopefully there's no brain damage. But yeah, the moment he snaps out of it, the voice, right? It's just, that's the voice of a broken man. It really is. And that in itself, I mentioned the performance, the voice acting, that is so impactful because I felt the pain, I felt the hollowness in that voice, that he's at the end of his rope. But you see that immediately he's so respectful towards Thorfinn, towards Gramps. He felt embarrassed that, he's speaking to an elder in that manner. Now, I'm not sure if he took a knee immediately as a sign of respect to Gramps because it happened like immediately, right? As he noticed Gramps, or yeah, it could be a bit of both maybe, or maybe it is just his injuries kicking in. But I love that touch, right? That he maintains that aspect of his self, his true self, right? And of course, throughout the flashbacks, you see that gentle disposition. You see a beautiful man, a beautiful soul, right? And, I say beautiful man, not in the physical sense, but, beautiful as in he's a beautiful human being, full of life. You see in the flashbacks, he had that hope, that light in his eyes, that fire in his eyes. There's a lot of fantastic close-ups of his face, of his expressions, looking at his newborn son and pledging that he's going to carve out a legacy worthy of his son, a future worthy of his son. I think it's really quite on point that even the baby is really quite realistic because let's be honest, a lot of times newborns, they can have a strange look. Let's be honest. That whole notion or concept of, oh, baby, so cute, newborn, so cute. No, it's not. It's not true, is it? Please don't cancel me for picking on a baby, the looks of a baby. But I think you get my point. But yeah, that is a thing that really got me. That is the thing that was so heartbreaking to me, to see this man, or see how he used to be once upon a time. Again, full of life, fire, full of hope, full of excitement for the future he is going to create, or he wants to create for his newborn, right? Everything he did is for family. I think that much is clear, right? Sure, in hindsight, there's a lot of regrets. In hindsight, of course, us, the audience, can kind of discuss the outcomes of these decisions, but now it shows it from his perspective, and indeed he is full of regrets. But the thing I like here is that even though, yes, there is a focus on his regrets, the path he took, the path he goes down, right? And then, of course, you see the depiction of that path lined up with slaves that resemble him, essentially. And, I mentioned the evocative imagery. you see that as he's kind of going in and out of these dreams almost, it's under the sea, isn't it? The sky is the sea essentially, and that kind of brought me back to the first opening of the series as well, of this season. Sorry, the river "Take Me Out" song, I believe. And as he does kind of dip in and out of consciousness, he does go on a journey, doesn't he? It's a journey within an episode, a mini drama within an episode. And yeah, there's a lot of painful things that he has to face and go through, memories that he has to relive. Though, of course, those memories, there's a lot of really happy memories, right? A reminder of the things that mattered most, right? In these final moments, he's thinking of his son. He's thinking of Arnheid, right? And her beautiful smile. One of the standout moments of the episode for me is, a little baby going out there. Sorry, I'm not even gonna take a swing at the name. But yeah, it's the baby going out, and Arnheid just starts to laugh, right? Because she understands that, okay, it's a bit of a struggle for Garter to, do these things, to do some of these things. But, as she hugs the baby, picks up the baby, it's, even before I saw the face, you see the back of his head, but you just know the expression that's going to be on his face because it's just so universal. Listen, I'm not a father, right? But all of us, you just know some things are just clear to see, right? That this right here is a moment that he could freeze in time and just relive it over and over, right? And then of course it does go to his face, and it's one of the most beautiful shots of the episode for me. I'll probably even consider using that shot of Garter in that moment as the thumbnail for this episode. But of course, there's also a lot of difficult things that he had to relive. There's a lot of interesting moments, such as him kind of finding himself in that moment, the moment he leaves. That's it. That's a key moment, right? And my God, the animation there. I mean, first of all, it is incredible. The detail that they put into the animation there, the expressions, because it felt like a real person. Honestly, it felt like a real person. It is really quite reminiscent of McConaughey from Interstellar, isn't it? I'm sure there might be a bit of inspiration there even. I'm not going to go any further than that in terms of spoilers, potential spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it still, but there might be some that haven't seen it. My God, that's one of the most haunting moments, isn't it? Him looking at Arnheid's face, there's this moment he kind of leans in to really study her face in that moment, right? That's something he just did not pick up on back then, right? But this Garter, who's been through it all, who's been through hell, he's been through hell, man. I mean, it's as simple as that. The moment he studies Arnheid's face, it kind of begins the process of him beginning to understand Arnheid at this moment in time. Just Arnheid's struggle since then, right? And then of course, he's trying to get his own attention. He's trying to reach out, but nothing's coming out. There's just there's that heartbreaking noise that's coming out of him, right? And again, the credit goes to the voice actor for Garter. And then of course, the animation, the detailed animation of the expressions. But one of the most incredible moments comes from him actually being lucid rather than him being in that dreamlike state, because he is kind of dipping back and forth, isn't he? But I'm speaking of that moment as he's talking about how all the young children, all the young boys, they all want to go adventure, right? They want to go adventuring, right? Though of course he's saying Viking, right? So they didn't quite translate that, but us audience can kind of pick up on that, right? Because we're listening. So yeah, it's a big moment. It's an incredible moment. He said, I'm not going to allow it. I'm not going to allow it. He's just kind of, in his final moments, lived his life once again. He's gone through key moments. Incredible moments, beautiful moments, terrible moments, haunting moments. And he's come to the conclusion that no more. Look how it all played out for me and my family, for my wife. No, I'm not going to allow him to go down the same path. And of course, Arnheid's reaction to that is quite incredible as well, right? Because you don't get much out of her, right? She's really quite deflated. She's just going through it nonstop. But, that moment, her eyes just light up. And, it's just this incredible moment for her to hear this from Garter, right? Even if he is on his deathbed, right? It means a lot. It means a lot. She knows that he understands. I mean, ultimately, yes, Yukimura is really quite critical of war and fighting or violence, right? But essentially also critical of that culture, that lifestyle, those people, the Vikings. But of course, Arnheid gives him that send-off, right? She did something so incredible for Garter, right? Even though he did have a lot of regrets on that final journey, as he is kind of reliving a lot of those key moments, at the end of the day, he passes on at peace, right? Or as much as possible. And of course, the final moments, call it potentially the afterlife, call it a delusion. He's kind of made it out of the sea, from under the sea, and it's raining. Though, of course, that's also kind of mimicking Arnheid's tears falling on his face, right? Another beautiful, detailed, stunning shot as well, as she parts his hair so she could see his face, right? See the face of the love of his life. Sorry, her life. But the reunion moment, right? Also kind of confirming that indeed, their son died. And it's just, I don't know, man. It's just beautifully wrapped up for them, at least. Of course, Arnheid is left behind. It really is quite tragic. It's a tragic existence for someone that is such a beautiful soul. And it really doesn't feel like there's any happy moments coming up for her. I mean, yes, she has a child on the way, but Ketil is also on the way, right? And these people have to be punished. Thorfinn, Einar, Arnheid, right? She did quite a bit, right? She did play a hand in ultimately getting 5 of Snake's men killed. And, looking at it from Snake's perspective, I think, yeah, it's understandable. Like, he makes a lot of sense, right? Yes, he admits that, yeah, they might be, I don't know, scumbags. I'm not sure if that's the term he used, but he also makes a point that that doesn't mean they don't deserve to live. That doesn't mean their lives don't matter, right? That they can be just tossed aside for this one man. And yes, once again, the voice acting is just top notch, isn't it? And I'm speaking of Snake in that scene. You just feel the passion. You feel the anger. And it's really quite impactful because this is a man who doesn't really tap into any of that. He doesn't really show his emotions all that much, right? He's really usually quite calm and composed. I mean, you see that Gramps kind of channels Thor's, even Arnheid channels Thor's. Both of them really do their part in kind of, maybe helping out the situation, right? Gramps tries to buy back the life of, I don't know, a slave that's on the brink of death by giving up his farm, everything he has. But it's not just that; it also is an attempt to save Snake. They alluded to this last episode, right? He implores him to give it all up. Here's a new start for you. Take my farm, right? And that's a big deal. Gramps offering up his farm is a big deal. He's always felt that the perfect send-off for him, or the perfect ending to his life, is dying on his farm, doing the thing that he loves, right? Of course, it kind of calls back to Thor's in episode 1, just open to offering anything to Halfdan for this slave's life, so he can send him off in peace. And he does. But all that time ago in episode 1, he did something incredible for that slave. And I think Thorfinn, yeah, he, looking back at that moment, he must just think, how incredible was my father, right? He certainly understands that now. But yeah, you see Arnheid did something similar for her husband, right? To give him that send-off. And of course, speaking of callbacks or parallels or mirrors, Yeah, the Snake and Thorfinn fight, in a lot of moments, it resembled the Askeladd and Thor's encounter or the duel, right? Hell, they even use the same score, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's the same score, yeah. And much like that scene, the animation here, the choreography here is just jaw-dropping. It's stunning, so fluid, so engaging. You feel the impact of those blows, right? Because they are impactful. Because every single blow that's being landed, the stakes are just so damn high, right? I don't know, the sound design, the sound mixing, everything just felt so impactful, right? It didn't feel like just like a hollow fight or encounter. I don't know. I just felt that there's this heft, this gravitas to that encounter, and you feel it. I felt it. And of course, there's that mutual respect. Once they spend a few seconds kind of going toe to toe, there's that mutual respect. Each one of them knows, okay, hold on, this person, how the hell did they end up here, right? I love the mirror shot as well of both of them realizing that, right? And it kind of goes back to that point Gramps made a few episodes ago, or even in the last episode, right? It's all about luck, right? Look at them. Look at the situation, right? Someone like Thorfinn ended up being a slave, and then he ended up on the other side. And I'm speaking of Snake, but of course Snake is really impressed, right? But also, it's that callback to the first few episodes. Not a single good thing has ever happened to me, right? Thorfinn said that as he's getting slashed, or before he ends up getting slashed, right? He steps up for Einar. He's like, give me his punishment. And Snake is there. He knew back then there's something unique about this man, right? He knew back then. And now he really gets to see it on display as well. And there's that one line of dialogue. He must have been surrounded by monsters. Or, he's just kind of thinking about the monsters he might have been surrounded by. Yeah, Snake, my dude, you're spot on. You're spot on. But of course, Thorfinn himself also became a monster, or channeled those monsters at that point in his life, right? But then, of course, on the flip side, high praise for Snake. I believe Thorfinn said this is the quickest person he's ever encountered or gone up against. That is something. That is saying something. I mean, Snake is a different level. And they alluded to this, right? Gramps, he said something like, how does someone like this man show up here? Right? Or he questioned how, look at your situation, that you ended up here somehow. And yet he name dropped something, right? I think I can look it up, right? Because a lot of these things are historically accurate. So I'll look it up. That should give me some insight, right? Of course, the sword is quite unique. They bring attention to that as well in the last episode. So yeah, I'll look that up after this. Though I'm sure, many of you already know, you've done the digging and you kind of had your theories, some of the history buffs perhaps. So yeah, let me know. But yeah, the ending of that encounter really kind of mimicked the Askeladd and Thor's duel, right? Thorfinn actually ended up making a really similar mistake, right? He was focusing a bit too much on one aspect of it, right? And at the same time, Snake is thinking of something else as well, right? It's like, oh, look, it's one of those situations. And much like Askeladd thought that he had it all, figured out and he's locked in, Thor's got him. Thor's got him to react in a manner that he wanted him to react in, right? He set him up for all of that. And he had Askeladd. He did. And same thing happened here. Thorfinn got distracted for a split moment because he paid a little too much attention to just one thing. And yeah, of course, Snake gets close to Garter because of it. And the thing is, this is just one family that's been affected by this. The focus is just on this one family. Think about the hundreds, the thousands of families that go through the same thing in that time era. It's a deflating thought. It's a heartbreaking thought. But yeah, it's certainly an episode that I need to go out there and check out a few reactions for. Not randomly, reactions of people that I respect, or people that make content that I respect, or people I've known for some time now. People like Iman. Iman and I go back years at this point. I think It might have been Game of Thrones season 6, midpoint of Game of Thrones season 6. I remember connecting with Iman. She's lovely. She's speaking of a beautiful person, a beautiful soul, Iman. Many of you know, of course. I mean, she's got a massive channel, so I'll definitely check in on her reaction to this. Of course, Semblance of Sanity, the SOS Bros, legends. I've got a lot of respect for them. So yeah, of course, I'll be checking out their reaction to this and the things they had to say about this. But yeah, I think that should do it for this one, folks. Incredible episode, right? That's a given. That is just a given. But yeah, if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in full opacity, timer-based full length, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel. If you are interested, the links are in the description and the pinned comments, also links to social media, things like Twitter and Instagram. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious and life is precious. All life is precious. And I do hope to see you again soon for episode 18. Let's see how that plays out. Until then, take it easy.